Welcome to War and Untold Stories. Here, we explore the hidden side of history and the shocking crimes that history tried to forget. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. In the mid-1980s, Los Angeles was a city living in fear. While the sun shone brightly on Hollywood dreams, a shadow moved through the night, a phantom that broke into homes, leaving a trail of unimaginable terror in its wake. This darkness had a name that would be seared into the collective memory of a nation. This is the true story of Richard Ramirez, the man the world came to fear as the Night Stalker. He wasn't just a criminal. He was a force of chaos, a walking nightmare that turned the safety of one's own home into a terrifying illusion. For one long, terrifying summer, he held an entire city hostage, his name whispered in hushed, fearful tones from the suburbs to the inner city. We're going to dive deep into the story of how this monster was created, how he reigned with terror, and how he was finally brought down. Richard Ramirez's path to becoming one of America's most feared serial killers began long before his first brutal crime. The seeds of darkness were planted early in a life marked by turmoil and violence. Born in El Paso, Texas, his childhood was far from idyllic. He was exposed to extreme violence within his own family, creating an environment where brutality was normalized. A head injury as a toddler reportedly led to seizures, further altering his young, impressionable mind. But the most sinister influence came from a relative, a cousin who had just returned from war. This cousin would regale a young Richard with gruesome stories and show him graphic photographs of the atrocities he had committed overseas. This constant exposure to death and cruelty didn't just scar his mind, it molded it. He began to see violence not as something horrifying, but as something fascinating, even powerful. The darkness that surrounded him as a child didn't just stay outside. It seeped in, poisoning his soul, and setting him on a path from which there would be no return. In the summer of 1984, the first of Ramirez's vicious attacks sent a shockwave through the city of Los Angeles. Investigators were baffled by the sheer brutality and the seemingly random nature of the crime. But that was only the beginning. The horror didn't stop. It escalated. Week after week, Ramirez continued his reign of terror, breaking into homes under the cover of darkness. His victims were chosen without a clear pattern. He targeted the young and the old, men and women, couples and those living alone. He was unpredictable, and that's what made him so terrifying. His methods were methodical yet chaotic, a chilling combination of careful planning and explosive violence. He would stalk a neighborhood, find an unlocked window or an open door, and slip inside like a ghost. The city slowly began to realize that this wasn't a series of isolated incidents. A monster was on the loose, a predator who saw the sprawling metropolis as his personal hunting ground, and its millions of residents as his potential prey. By the summer of 1985, Los Angeles was a city trapped in a state of collective panic. The fear was palpable. You could feel it in the air. News anchors delivered nightly warnings that sounded like something from a horror film. Lock your windows, double-check your doors, sleep with the lights on, and guard your homes. Gun and lock sales skyrocketed as terrified citizens did anything they could to feel safe. The name the media gave him, the Night Stalker, was on everyone's lips, spreading like a virus across the state and then the nation. Every new report of a break-in, every new discovery of a horrific crime scene deepened the city's dread. He seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. The randomness of his attacks meant that no one felt safe. It didn't matter what neighborhood you lived in or what your background was. Every night when the sun went down, a silent question hung over the city. Who would be next? The Night Stalker struck again and again and again, leaving a city of millions holding its breath until dawn. Behind the scenes of the public panic, a massive team of detectives worked around the clock, desperate to catch the phantom who was terrorizing their city. The investigation was a frantic and often frustrating race against time. They were drowning in leads, hundreds of them pouring in every day from a frightened public. The task force meticulously pieced together every fragment of evidence they could find. A rare shoe print left at one crime scene gave them a potential clue about the killer's footwear. Fingerprints were lifted from multiple locations, but with no matching prints in the system, they led to a dead end. Witness sketches were circulated, showing a gaunt figure with wild eyes and decaying teeth, but he remained elusive. It felt like they were chasing a ghost. Ramirez was cunning, always managing to slip away just before law enforcement closed in. For the detectives on the case, every new attack was not just another case file. It was a personal failure, another life they couldn't save, and it fueled their relentless pursuit to unmask the Night Stalker. The breakthrough finally came on August 31st, 1985. After months of dead ends, a single piece of evidence turned the entire case around. Ramirez had been careless during one of his last attacks, leaving a clear fingerprint on a stolen car he had abandoned. Investigators rushed the print to a newly implemented automated fingerprint identification system. Within minutes, they had a match. The ghost finally had a name: Richard Ramirez. His mugshot was immediately blasted across every television screen and front page in California. The public was now armed with the one thing they needed to fight back: his face. The very next day, Ramirez, unaware that he had been identified, tried to steal a car in East Los Angeles. He was instantly recognized by local residents. The hunted suddenly became the hunter. A crowd of ordinary citizens, fueled by months of fear and anger, chased him down the street. They cornered him, subdued him, and held him until the police arrived. The chase was over. The nightmare that had gripped Los Angeles for months was finally and dramatically over. The trial of Richard Ramirez was a media circus, a spectacle that captured the attention of the entire world. But inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was chilling. As the horrific details of his crimes were read aloud, Ramirez showed no remorse. Instead, he shocked everyone with his disturbing and arrogant behavior. He would smirk at the victims' families, laugh during testimony, and flash satanic symbols at the cameras. His cold, unfeeling demeanor was just as terrifying as the crimes he had committed. He seemed to revel in the attention, embracing his persona as an agent of evil. In 1989, after a lengthy and highly publicized trial, he was found guilty on all counts, including 13 counts of murder. He was sentenced to death. Upon hearing his sentence, Ramirez infamously told reporters, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory." He spent the rest of his life on death row at San Quentin State Prison, never expressing a single word of regret. He remained there until his death from natural causes in 2013, taking the full story of his darkness to the grave. Richard Ramirez remains one of America's most infamous and terrifying serial killers. His story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can exist within a human being. But it's also a testament to the resilience of a city that refused to be broken, and the power of a community that came together to bring a monster to justice. His case serves as a dark lesson that evil isn't always born overnight. It can be shaped and molded through trauma, abuse, and a series of choices that lead a person down a path from which there is no turning back. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into true crime history. Stay safe out there,